Hey you guys, today I'm going to share with you my version of Paula Deen's Not Yo Mama's Banana Pudding. That's what she calls it, and it is definitely not Yo Mama's Banana Pudding because this version is made gluten-free with homemade gluten-free butter cookies. You can sub those with store-bought gluten-free cookies, so let's get into it. First I'm going to make my cookie dough, and to make this it's very simple. It's just butter, sugar, a little bit of salt, vanilla, an egg, and some gluten-free all-purpose flour blend. And I'm starting by whipping up the butter just slightly, and then I'm going to add in the sugar, stream it in, and cream those two together until kind of light and fluffy. They don't need to be like overly creamed until super light and fluffy because we're not looking for like a whole lot of rise in this. We're just looking to combine the ingredients basically. So we'll add our egg. When I first made this recipe, I actually made it using Char gluten-free shortbread cookies, and they're round cookies, and it worked perfectly. But when I was getting ready to make it again so that I could share it with y'all, I could not find the stinking Char gluten-free cookies anywhere. I went to like 3 or 4 different stores in my area. And I thought, if I can't find them, then you probably won't be able to find them either. Or maybe you will. I don't know. But in my area, sometimes that stuff is really hard to find. So I'm adding the flour blend here. And if you can't find it, then why not make the cookies yourself? I also have a vanilla wafer cookie on my site, and I'll leave a link for that below. How to make those from scratch. They're very simple too, but I really like Paula Deen's version. So what I'm doing now is I'm just dividing this in between 2 sheets of plastic wrap, putting it into a square form and putting it in the fridge for about an hour until it's nice and chilled so I can roll it out easily. So cover the work surface with, lightly dust it with flour. And we'll go ahead and roll this out to where it's about 1/4 of an inch thick. The cookie cutter I found, I chose this because it was particularly because it was one of those plunge style cookie cutters that gives those imprints on top, just like the Chessmen cookies, the Chessmen butter cookies that Paula Deen uses for her recipe. And I happened to find this at Michael's. I could not find the Chessmen style cookie cutters anywhere, but this I thought was actually perfect because it's an American flag and it gives those ridges on the top just like the Chessmen ones are. And it's also patriotic for Memorial Day, for 4th of July, Labor Day, whatever you want to use it for. So just plunge down or press down and then hit that plunger and it'll do the imprinting on top. And then you plunge it again to release it, and that's it. So I'm just going to fly through cutting these right now, and we'll get them on a baking sheet lined with parchment. And then I'm taking egg yolks. I whisk the egg yolks up a little bit, and then I'm going to use a brush to lightly paint the egg yolks on top. This is what gives that contrast that you see with those Chessmen style cookies on top before you bake it. You don't have to do this. This is totally optional. I wanted it to look as authentic as I possibly could get it. And we'll throw these into the oven at 350 for about 12 minutes or until nice and browned. So we let those cool, and now we'll get all the pudding mixtures going. And this is just heavy whipping cream with a little bit of powdered sugar and vanilla. And I'm whisking this to stiff peaks. You can also sub this, as Paula Deen says in her recipe, with Cool Whip. So if you want to thaw out Cool Whip, you could even do it with that coconut milk Cool Whip. I forgot what it's called, but it's really good if you wanted to be dairy-free. And then again, here is the pudding mix. This is like the semi-homemade version of this. French vanilla pudding mix with milk. You could use a non-dairy milk if you'd like to make it dairy-free. and it was splattering all over. So I was trying to cup my hand over it. I'm actually at my mom and dad's house right now. I'm staying here for about a week and a half, so I'm kind of out of my element. But bear with me on this video. It was a little darker than I wanted the day that I recorded this, and I'm just totally out of my element with all my usual gear. So this is just cream cheese, and to that I am adding liquid gold, aka sweetened condensed milk, and we'll just whip that up real quick. And then we just combine all three of them. And that's the pudding mixture. So I call this kind of like a semi-homemade version of banana pudding, because I'm not making the pudding myself, but I am making the cookies. And you can make it totally like non-homemade by subbing in store-bought gluten-free cookies or vanilla wafers too. So I'm adding all of those three elements, the cream cheese mixture, the pudding mixture, and the whipped cream, all in one big bowl. And now we're going to get to layering. I'm taking a 9 by 13 inch baking pan, and I'm going to add the cookies down first because we want that base layer of cookies. These are my favorite cookies now to use for this banana pudding. I have used my homemade vanilla wafers. Like I said, I've used the Char shortbread cookies, and I've also used store-bought vanilla wafers. And they've all worked wonderfully, but I particularly like this recipe the best. The cookies get super tender, just like you'd like for a banana pudding. So then we layer on a layer of bananas, and then we put on our pudding mixture. You can go heavy on the bananas or light. I like heavy bananas. So I'm using about 6 to 8 bananas in the entire recipe. And then we'll just keep layering one more time, ending with the cookies. And there you have it. Let it sit in the fridge to set up for like 4 or 5 hours or overnight. It'll last for like 3 to 4 days in the fridge. But any exposed banana will start to get dark in color. But look at this, you guys. It is probably the best banana pudding I've ever had. It's definitely not your traditional, you know, not your mama's banana pudding.